Hi, my name is Margot Mückstein. I'm CEO and co-founder of Cloudomation, a small Vienna-based software company. And today I want to tell you a short story. As a small software startup, when we first began developing Cloudomation, we had developers joining our team, but we didn't have any money to buy them any laptops. So we started out letting developers use their own devices. As we grew, as we started making money, we started issuing company laptops to our developers. Some of them still preferred to work on their own laptops. Some of them took the company laptops but wanted to use Windows actually for the development work, while the majority of developers wanted to work on Linux, but still each developer had their own preferences and a wide variety of Linux distributions were used. We were fairly liberal and hands-off. We let developers choose their own tools, choose their own operating systems, anything they could handle and manage on their own. We said, it's okay for us. You do what you need to do, basically. But issues abounded, particularly when it comes to deploying Cloudomation, so the software that they work on, the software they develop, running this on their laptops, running this locally, running a local build, testing this locally. A lot of issues arose, and even as we solved them, new issues came up. And with new versions, new changes, new features, new components, again, a new whole long tail of problems would arise for all the different developers and the different setups and the different operating systems and the different tooling. As time progressed, we reached a point where we said, okay, in the future, we will simply not allow developers to use Windows. We will tell them that you need to use Linux on your company laptop in order to do the development work. And just not bother with solving all these issues with Windows, since our software is also one that is simply not supposed to run on Windows. It's not built for it. It's a business software, it's a server software. It's not built to be run on a Windows laptop. Then we started working with freelancers, and we ran into the issue again that freelancers use their own devices. They want to use their own devices. There is a whole legal thing about freelancers having to use their own devices. And again, some freelancers want to work using Windows. It was around that time that we started thinking about this whole problem of development environments in a completely different way. We started issuing our people with cloud development environments. So we actually deployed VMs for our developers where they have everything that they need. They run Cloudomation there. They can do a local build there. They have their own playground, their own secure space where they can test. They can verify their changes and break things. It doesn't matter. It's their thing. It's their own virtual machine, their own environment where they can do their development work. This is what we built out into our new product, Cloudomation DevStack, which is a platform for CDEs, for cloud development environments, which allows you to automatically, at the click of a button, deploy work environments for software developers. Since this is an issue that many companies face, I decided to make this video and talk about what bring your own device is, how it is problematic, and how cloud development environments help to solve the challenges related to bring your own device. Bring your own device means that software developers use their own private devices to do work. Generally, this means that they use their own laptops in order to code, but it can also mean using tablets, using mobile phones, or anything else to access company systems and data. But I really only want to talk about the laptop part of things for software developers who use their own laptops to write code. Bring your own device is actually fairly common in the software engineering industry, especially when it comes to working with freelancers or outsourcing partners. These are fields where developers very commonly use their own devices or devices issued by the outsourcing company, but not by the client for whom they write code. But also for many companies of all sizes, actually, it's very normal that some developers simply prefer to use their own devices. These companies have bring your own device policies. They allow developers to use their own devices, but it comes with some challenges. The challenges can really be put into two categories. One of them is legal problems, and one of them is practical problems. The legal problems relate to security and compliance. So this is really about the security of source code and data. So a developer using their own private device for work has company source code and company data on their laptop. While bring your own device policies typically specify how a private laptop has to be secured in order to be used for work, this is something that companies really have very little visibility or control over, so it can't really be enforced. This means that source code and data can be lost or stolen fairly easily, and the company doesn't really have a handle on that. So even when it comes to things like breaching the rules of the GDPR or things like that, companies have no control or visibility if that happens, if data is lying around on developers' laptops, and often even more difficult for companies to handle the intellectual property of the company. The source code is actually distributed on laptops across the entire engineering organization, often freelancers or outsourcing partners working in different countries, in different locations, and devices flying around all over the world, basically, that contain the most valuable asset of a software company, its source code. So this is the category of legal challenges, actually having source code and data on devices that are not standardized, that the company has no control over, no visibility over, no control over who has access to this device, how these devices are secured, if data is encrypted or not. So this is really the legal side of things. The practical side of things is related to actually enabling people and developers to be productive using their own devices. So this comes back to the topic of actually being able to run the software that developers work on any device. So if a developer uses their own private device and wants to use Linux, wants to use Mac, wants to use Windows, then companies who want to support the developers to use this would have to make sure that the software that that they ask developers to work on actually runs on all these different systems. Bring your own device policies typically say that support cannot be provided to developers who work on their own devices, so developers actually are asked to handle any issues that might arise on their own. This is very common. What is also very common is that developers then actually spend a lot of time troubleshooting local deployments, managing even initially deploying the software to their own workstations, and basically setting up and maintaining their local development environments. Cloud development environments are a perfect solution for both these types of problems, for both the legal and the practical side of problems that arise with bring your own device. Cloud development environments are work environments in the cloud, often virtual machines or containers or pods that developers can use to do their work. So they contain everything that developers need in order to write code productively. So they contain the source code, they contain any test data. They also provide an environment where developers can actually run a local build, run the software, test the software, do all of this in a secure environment where they are not interfering with anybody else. So very similar to their own laptops, only it's not their laptop, it's a space in the cloud that the developer has exclusive access to. The main benefit of this on the legal side of things is that developers do not have source code or data on their own devices anymore. This drastically reduces any legal or compliance issues related to securing data and source code, because it's simply not on a dozen or hundreds of devices all over the world anymore. It's simply in environments that are controlled by the company, where access is only possible via secure channels that are controlled by the company. Access can be revoked at any time. And even if a laptop gets lost, even if somebody else, a third party, accesses the developer's laptop, they do not immediately have access to the source code or company data, which are securely stored on the remote environment. In terms of practical problems, cloud development environments also solve them because the development environments are fully standardized. They're provided automatically, so developers simply click a button and can start coding. There is no more setting up a local development environment. There is no more troubleshooting. There is no more nothing. These are standardized environments that each company can easily provide support for, because it's only one. It's only one type of system, and it should work for every developer. So, to summarize, bring your own device refers to the practice of software developers using their own laptops to write code. This is a fairly common practice, especially when working with freelancers and outsourcing partners. but it has challenges. It has problems related to legal areas, which are related to source code security and data protection. So having data and source code lying around on developers' laptops can present compliance challenges. And it also has very practical challenges because developers often struggle actually setting up development environments on unstandardized private devices. Cloud development environments solve both of these areas of problems by providing standardized environments in the cloud that developers access remotely, where data and source code is stored in an environment that the company has full control over and which is also fully standardized and easy to support for a company for all developers.